We finally got to wake up in our own bed today after the long journey of picking up the Tacoma Trailhunter all the way from Kentucky. And today, I finally get to put it into four-wheel drive. Okay, so we're airing the trucks down. Natalia is airing down the FJ. This is actually the first time I've taught her how to air stuff down. Doing a great job. And then I am using the deflator on the Tacoma to automatically do it. It's pretty neat. So I really don't love how you have to drag this cable or this hose across the truck to do this. But I will sort that out in the future. For now, check this thing out. It's pretty cool. So you're definitely not going to win any races airing down this way, but it is very convenient. This is not an incredibly hard trail, so I'm just going down to 17. I preset my presets that way, which was very easy. And so now you just go around tire to tire. You don't have to press start again. Once you start it, it'll just stop when that tire is down to the PSI you want. And then you just switch to the next tire over and it'll automatically start deflating again. I am so stoked. We are getting to put this thing in four-wheel drive now. From what I can observe right now, I'm aired down to 17 PSI. Some of the guys that reviewed these trucks are saying that this is a harsh ride. Compared to the FJ, this is not a harsh ride at all. Surprisingly smooth. It's off-road, but this is tuned very well. It's tuned a lot better than the FJ is. I've got King shocks on the FJ. I didn't custom valve them or anything like that, which I probably could achieve a much better ride out of it if I did. I will probably do something like that in the future. But man, ride quality right now is phenomenal on this thing. The FJ is not stock. It's very modified. It's very heavy. I just put a really heavy spring in the back of it, so it rides a little stiffer even than it was before. But this is leaps and bounds a better ride than the FJ is. Sway bar disconnect. I already disconnected it a second ago. Already connected. It took about 3 seconds. I'm sure it has to wait for everything to line up for a second. From what I understand, you can disconnect the sway bar while it's under load, kind of like you can with the Broncos. So as I'm going through and testing stuff, the view mode, so you can see your tires and see your pitch and roll, which you can also set that up on the gauges in front of you so it's always there. But seeing the camera views, that will work under 10 miles an hour. As soon as you hit 10 miles an hour, it'll turn off, and then you get the basic other views. So I think that's acceptable, but it would be nice if you could have it on up to like 15, maybe a little bit faster. All right, now we're getting into some ruts and stuff.
This series is brought to you by Onyx Off-Road. In areas like we're currently at, you can choose between topo layer, satellite layer, or a hybrid of both combined. And when you save maps for your trip for offline use, all three of the options are automatically downloaded, so you don't need to worry about downloading several layers of the same area. I personally choose to have a low-resolution map of all the primary national forests in Colorado downloaded. This takes up just a few gigs of storage on my phone and ensures no matter what, I always have a map ready. And for the trails I plan on going on, I download a high-resolution map before the trip. Mapping on the Trailhunter is pretty badass. It killed me to put 1,300 miles on this truck on our way home without putting it into four-wheel drive. But today, we're setting out to do just that. This isn't extreme rock crawling or mud bogging. I just simply wanted to see how four-wheel drive functions in this thing. The hard trails and skid plate bashing will come soon enough. I'm using crawl control to see just how this truck works. It seems about 3 to 5 miles an hour is about as fast as it will work, but you can give it some fuel to speed up, and then it'll slow back down once you let up.
Okay, so as you guys can probably guess, I'm pretty impressed with the Trailhunter. Some things I need to do is I definitely need to work on some organization and some storage because the hybrids don't have hardly any or none under the seats. I need to do some seat organization, and I would like to get a seat delete as quickly as possible. Some of the downsides of using this for the season, some of my biggest plans with this thing aren't going to be happening until winter. So for now, I'm going to use a bed rack and just put the alu cab on it. I know it's an old tent, but it served me well, so I'm just going to use that for the rest of the season. The downside is I'm going to have an open bed, which I'm definitely not used to. I'm used to having all of my stuff in a sealed environment, so I'm going to have to use a bunch of cases and things like that, but it'll be all right. I'll get used to it. As far as a front bumper, I will be doing that at some point. I'm not entirely sure. Man, when I say the mosquitoes are bad, it's crazy. I will be doing a front bumper at some point. I don't know when that'll be. There's really not that many even available right now. And I don't want one of the low profile ones, I don't think. I think if I'm gonna do a bumper, I want one that'll bounce at least a deer off of it. As far as the Toyota roof rack, it's actually pretty solid. Toyota in the past has kind of made goofy roof racks that weren't usable, kind of like on the old generation 4Runner for the TRD Pro, and then like the FJ Cruiser's roof rack was just absolutely awful. It's more for looks, as this one actually has, it's a sturdy roof rack with movable cross rails, so you could use this thing, especially with that ARB full rack, and really mount some stuff up there. But it doesn't fit my build plans, so I'm just gonna sell it while it's new. I'm gonna take the Trailhunter exclusive mullet bar, as one of my patrons has been calling it, and I'm gonna take that off because, again, that's not very useful for me, and I'm gonna make that more usable space for doing the off-roading and adventuring for the season. And then this winter, I will dive farther into making this truck very unique. Because as you guys see with the FJ, it is a very unique vehicle, and it's got character, as this is a bone stock truck. And for me, I want it to be a little more personalized, and I just want it to look the part, you know what I mean? But it's very capable. I do want smaller wheels. I do want bigger tires. I do want to do some upgrades that I wish I would have done on the FJ sooner rather than later. But the suspension I'm going to keep for as long as I can because it really rides nice. I paid for it. I'm not looking to just upgrade this, or else I would have bought a TRD off-road. The lighting is sufficient for now, I think. The light bar, it could use some more light up front, in my opinion, for when I'm on the highway. I like seeing way out in front of me, because if there's elk up there, I want to know that they're up there. And so I would like to upgrade some of the lighting. I do know that. So while this does come with this, and maybe this will work for most people, for me, I want it to reach out a little bit farther. As far as the rear of the truck goes, personally, I don't have any problem with lowering a tailgate. And this is kind of, I mean, it's nice, I guess. Some people see it and they're like, oh, that's fancy and that's great. But for me, I really don't care about that. It doesn't really serve me. I'm sure some people would like it, but I don't like that you can't drop it as well. I wish you could also just unhinge it and let it drop, as it's all automatic and slow and everything, but whatever. I'm just nitpicking stuff. It just seems like a feature I wish I didn't have to pay for. And then the mullet rack, the mullet bar, that's coming off there. They were going for a retro thing, and that's kind of the Marty McFly thing. That's cool, but I mean, it makes it kind of look like an Avalanche, and it's not very useful. And the ARB rack, the full rack you can get from Toyota, it looks really nice, and it looks pretty heavy duty, especially like if it's built like this. But it is a $3,000, it's like a $2,500, $3,000 rack upgrade on top of this. You can't get the Trailhunter without that back bar. So that's the only reason I have it. But if you were to expand it, sure, you can roll it into your payments and everything, that's great. But I have no use for it whatsoever. So I'm gonna sell that. On the roof rack, the reason I even have the Toyota roof rack, that's not standard on the Trailhunter, but the way Toyota options things, when it comes with it, it comes with it, and there's not much you can do about it. The air compressor, I'm actually pretty impressed with. I'm gonna do our air up with the air compressor when we get back down to the road, but I am actually pretty impressed. It's pretty cool to just be able to hook it up and kind of walk away, talk to your buddies, or get a drink or something like that, check on, for me, my camera stuff, just make sure things are in order while the system is just doing its thing and I don't have to worry about it overinflating. I know there's aftermarket systems that do the same thing, but it's really cool that it's built into the truck. One downside to that air compressor I do know, because the Toyota engineers told me, is if you want to add a front air locker from like ARB, you will need another compressor to power that, or to run that. You can't run it off of this one. So as I discussed before I even got this truck, the 4-cylinder hybrid powertrain doesn't bother me at all. I don't fully understand why you can't utilize the hybrid system more, or like in eco mode, when you flip over to eco mode, it doesn't seem to do anything. I can't tell a difference. I hope there's some sort of an update in the future where that does more with the hybrid system. Like, I would like to see it utilize that battery more. The battery almost never does anything unless you lay into it. And I know that this hybrid is built for power. I'm well aware of that, but I just don't see why it's only when you need peak power, because that's not all the time. If you're in regular mode or tow haul mode, I could understand that it's not going to give you efficiency, but when you're in eco mode, I would think that the hybrid would do something more. And in my experience, it hasn't done anything at all. So that seems like kind of a wasted spot. The sport mode does seem to hold it into the higher RPMs a little bit longer, but I'm not going to be using that much. I'm not hard on my vehicles, though with this one, it does have so much power that I find myself driving faster than I'm used to. So one thing with efficiency and the amount of power that this truck has, with cruise control, it will keep you at your speed no matter what. As you know, with cruise control, in the past, your truck would just downshift and rev high. This one doesn't need to rev high. Because this one doesn't need to be at a high RPM to have power, it seems to float between 1700 and, like, on I-70 when I was going like 80 miles an hour, it seemed to get up to like 3,000 sometimes and then shift up. But with the FJ, if I want to get better fuel economy, I manually shift the thing whenever we're on trips, because I can keep it out of those high RPM ranges where it needs all that power. I just drive easy. This truck, because it gets its power so low in the RPM range, it's honestly kind of hard to keep it low. So even when you're choosing to be lighter on it, it's almost hard to be light-footed just because it's so sensitive. So it's a pro and it's a con. There were times yesterday in Colorado Springs I was driving and I got up to 30 miles to the gallon, which I thought was just phenomenal. And I was on the highway. It was kind of slow moving highway traffic, but I was getting really good there for probably 15, 20 minutes. But as my overall averages go, I wasn't doing that great. I'm gonna let the truck do some more braking in. I think the system might still be learning some, and I don't know how accurate all that is. So I'm gonna hold off on sharing some of that. But if it is accurate, it hasn't been that great. It's not the 25 miles to the gallon, 24 miles to the gallon. It's been more like 18, 19. But I'm just giving you that information, but I'm not sure that it's totally accurate, because for the first 500 miles, this thing was all over the place, and then it got a little bit better. I'm at about 1,600 miles now. The snorkel is one thing that does make noise. I've heard different opinions on it. It's annoying, it's not annoying. I do not get tired of it. I think it sounds great. I roll down my window to hear it. I've even rolled down the FJ's window before to hear that snorkel because it sounds really cool. And the thing you notice when you're driving this is if you have the windows up because of the acoustic glass and because of the sound deadening, it's basically that noise cancellation built into the stereo in one way or another. You don't really hear this if you don't want to, but if you roll the windows down, you will. Anyway, so 1,600 miles are on the truck now. We've gotten it into 4 high, we've gotten it into 4 low. I've tried to use the hybrid system. I've tried to touch on a lot of this stuff. And this was just a basic, you know, go out on the trail. I wanted to put it in 4-wheel drive. And I've been very happy with it, but this isn't a very hard trail. So now that I have this truck, we got all these trips coming up and I really need the aftermarket to catch up. This part of the reason I bought the Trailhunter is because a lot of this stuff I knew wasn't gonna be available and the Trailhunter's pretty set up to go. So I didn't want to get the truck and have to do a bunch of labor and all that. Summer's gonna be in full swing. So I just wanted to get the truck, go on the trail. So that's what we're gonna do. Maybe new tires first, bigger tires, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, it is very capable, it's very fun, and it is very cool. These things are pretty awesome. I know there's a lot of haters on the 4-cylinder out there, but I'm telling you, once you drive one of these things, you are gonna be thoroughly impressed. I'm excited, I hope you're excited. I know some of you guys are gonna hate this thing, but for me, I think it's really cool. I think what Toyota's doing is pretty cool. Lots of people disagree with me on that.
I bought this Trailhunter to test out Toyota's claimed overland trim and to film content for you along the way. I'm gonna beat up the skid plates, smash on the rock rails, and load it up with some weight. So while the truck will be going through some major changes this winter, for now, I'm gonna prove how worthy or unworthy this trim really is.
Do you want to drive this thing on the way down?
I'm fine in here.
All right, well, I mean, I haven't bottomed out on anything. This is a longer wheelbase, of course, so I slightly expect to compared to what the FJ is going to do. But because it's pretty much set up like the FJ, a similar size tire, the FJ is closer to a 34, and it's got all the same armor and stuff, more or less, aside from the front and the fuel tank skid. But on this little tiny trail, it's definitely, I don't even know if I want to say impressive. I don't want to sound like one of these journalists where I'm like, oh wow, this is impressive. Like, I mean, it is impressive, but I would expect that for the cost of what the Trailhunter is. But as far as Tacomas go, and what we've gotten in the past on this kind of stuff, I mean, this is definitely a capable truck. Let me take off my seatbelt. 3 miles an hour. It's not doing it now. I bet we got to get up to 10. There it goes. 6 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour. That seatbelt alarm is ridiculous. I do have something coming so I can shut that off or at least tone it down. I'm not sure exactly how it works. But with all the sensors and stuff that are built into these, I would think that if you're on flatter terrain and 4 low going under 10 miles an hour, it would turn that off. Okay, so as far as sidewall goes, and this is why it's complaining about the 18-inch wheel, you see how close this is to the ground? That's like, I don't know, 4 inches maybe. As the FJ, because of the wheel size, it's a 16, so the sidewall is taller, but also the wheel sticks in more. So like, as far as off-roading goes, these wheels, they're not the greatest, and I already scuffed mine up. I was gonna resell them, and I may still resell these, but they've got a pretty good gash, and it's because there's no real sidewall for airing down. You're basically riding on a wheel. and these wheels stick out. For comparison, I mean, I wish I could fit a 16. Look how meaty that is. Anyway, okay, we're gonna do a quick comparison here on if the FJ with the tank airs up as fast. We'll race to 30. Okay, so this is gonna be a fair test. I do have to pull the hose off of the back tire of the FJ and check it with the tire gauge, but that's normal. So I'm just gonna count that as part of the test. Natalia, if you will press the start button when I say. All right, ready, set, go. All right, we're gonna see which of these compressors does the trick the fastest. This does have a full air tank. It's a 3-gallon tank, I think, so this will probably be faster on the FJ. I would not be surprised. The engineer I spoke to from Toyota said that this compressor on the Tacoma should be about as fast as the dual compressor from ARB, because it has a larger reservoir. I think it's a larger piston. We'll see. These were both aired down to 18.5. I double checked with this Blue Point tire gauge. So I guess we'll check and see, make sure both these tires are roughly the same. Look at the landscape behind us. It's pretty up there. Natalia said that the Tacoma Air is at 27, this one's at 37, but this also has a tank, so it's gonna be faster. So no surprise there. 38.5. It's not as fast as with the tank, no surprise, and I'm not sure if you can add a tank, but I may try to add a tank.
As always, thank you so much for watching, and click one of the videos in the corner to check out more of our adventure, off-road, and overland related content.